You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show.
Yep.
Yes, you're listening to the Finnish Football Show. I'm Mark Wiltshire, and today I'm joined by Keke. Hi, Keke.
Hello.
By Mark Hayton. Hi, Mark.
Boy.
And by Rich Nelson. Hi, Rich.
Hey.
And in this episode, we're going to have a bit of an update on everything, really. The Suomen Cup is underway. We talked about that in the last episode. The Liigacup has finished, and we'll look back at the final couple of stages of that. We've also got some upcoming training camp and practice games for the Finland national team, the Huuhkajat, and then the women's national team, the Helmarit, have got some games coming up in April that we'll throw forward to a little. And I think that just about covers everything. That should keep you all going for the next 45 minutes or so. But I think that maybe we should start with what's already taken place before we start speculating. So the referee is going to blow his whistle, and let's look at the later stages of the Liiga Cup, which was won last weekend quite I guess convincingly 3-1 by Honka. I missed the last couple of rounds of the Liiga Cup because I was travelling to the UK and hooking up with Rich and Keke, but I followed enough from Asiakor to know that we still have issues taking penalties. So there's one thing that hasn't been fixed yet this season. But Rich, what can you tell us about the last couple of rounds of the Liiga Cup?
Well, as I said, Honka won quite convincingly in the end, a 3-1 victory over Inter. The pick of the goals, which went, I won't say viral, but very popular, was Florian Krebs. Sounds like a Bond villain. He's one of Honka's recent signings from Borussia Dortmund reserves, and he scored an absolute perler from about 30 yards out, in off the post, just for a bit of extra kudos. Lovely finish. And there's a video from Emily Reponen, who's, I think he's Honka's goalkeeping coach. He has cameras for part of his training routines behind the goals. So he had that, and it's a fantastic view of that. But yes, it's impressive because Honka, I'm not sure if we talked about it in the previous episode, they were playing Huuhkajat in the quarterfinals, and Huuhkajat put out their junior side because they were travelling to Turkey for a training camp the day after. So just went F to it, and I've learned. So Honka actually went 1-0 up, and Honka came back to win. But yeah, it was impressive. I mean, this is the first competition for, I think, 6 years, and with the revamp of the Suomen Cup, and there's the Liiga Cup as well for the teams in the first division. It's nice that it gave a little bit of I mean, we're not going to give it too much credit and call it a competitive edge, but at least these are kind of structured, organised training matches with a little plate for the winner at the end of it. But fair play to Honka. They struggled at the end of last season in front of a one man and his dog attendance. So fair play, they turned up, and it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, once the teams turn up with their new signings gelled in, and I mean, Huuhkajat are a case in point. They put out the young side, and they've got a lot of new signings as usual. So I'm sure they'll be more competitive. But yeah, it's nice to and Haka as well. Haka got to the semi-finals. They beat Ilves in the last minute of their quarterfinals. So it's nice little appetite whetner for the start of the season next week.
Yeah, you're right that it's always had that, because it's mostly played indoors, although I think a few of the final games were finally made their way outside. It does have that feeling of a practice game, but then once once you're in there in the bubble, as I was for one of the games, and cheering the team on, then it becomes competitive. And as you start to progress, you think, well, we're in this to win it, so let's get that trophy at the end. So yeah, congratulations to Honka. Wasn't there someone with a fantastic name playing for Huuhkajat in one of those games? You tweeted about it, Rich.
Yeah, oh God,
Was it Daddy's boy?
Oh no, he was when Huuhkajat were in their training camp. They played Sandefjord, I think a Norwegian side who Hugo Cato plays for now. But yeah, the goal scorer, I think the winning goal scorer his name is Franklin Daddy's boy.
Which sounds funny, but then I've got a customer whose surname is Jaakon Poika, which is kind of the same, Jarko's boy. So it did look strange until you start thinking about it. But
I'm sure when we talk about the Icelandic squad, when most of them are so and so's son.
That's true. Yeah, it's not so. It's only when it's in English quite so blatantly that it looks a little bit unusual. Okay.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think Daddy's boy was his actual name. I think that's the name he travels under, as it were.
Right.
But, I think, yeah.
Well, he's not going incognito, is he?
No.
Unlike the member of the Finnish football show team who is currently wearing shades and trying to mask their identity, Mr. Keke, who's going on holiday tomorrow.
I am. Yeah, I'm not sure I'll need the sunglasses. I certainly don't need them indoors here, but I don't think I'll need them.
Ring light looks very bright, glistening off your lenses.
I'm not sure I'll need them in Spain either, because Huuhkajat have gone there in the hope of a warm weather training camp, and it's nipped down a rain. So we'll see. But it's not too cold. I think it's hovering about plus 14, plus 15. But it's
luxury if you're playing
warmer
over
in
here.
London.
Yeah.
So it will be. It will be warm showers, but there's definitely showers and clouds. So yeah, the sunglasses might have to stay at home. But no, I'm looking forward to it. There's a few of the boys from Uvascula are coming out there with us, and I'll be meeting those boys. We're flying to Alicante and then bussing it over to Murcia, and that'll be our home for a few days. We're going to take in the Finland, Iceland, and the Finland Slovakia games, and you never know. I might even get myself into a press conference or two.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit. Well, I don't talk too much about getting press accreditation, because someone might be listening and they might realise that they've given one to a chancellor like you, and they'll rescind it. But do take a notepad and pencil just to make it look like you know what you're doing.
Indeed, yeah.
But in previous years, we've had these sort of training or sort of like the desert friendlies, we've called them, in January, but now this is, like you say, a warm weather training camp with a couple of friendlies thrown in. Mark, maybe can you talk a little bit about the squad that's been selected over there, and any kind of surprises?
I mean, I think when it was named, there was 4 or 5 guys that were up for a potential debut. I think Richard Jensen, who was named up as centre back, unfortunately, won't be up for it, which is a bit of a shame. He had a bit of an injury nightmare, one of the ones that $1 million one. But there's a lot of young lads. Miska Ylitolva. He's played half a season basically for Rops when they finished runners-up in Ykkönen last year, and I think he moved now to Huuhkajat. He's only 17. He's not had a full season yet. Fullback, by all accounts, good on the ball, very pacey, also potentially very strong, so could shift into midfield or into centre-back. So it's nice to see a young lad brought in. Again, I guess I think we say this every time the squad's named. I guess that means the end for Albin Granlund, but but surely he'll be back. I don't know. Then you've got Miro Tenho and Lucas Lingman, who Miro Tenho's Huuhkajat, also pretty young. Be good to see them get a run out. And then Soisalo was called up who's been playing in Riga for the last couple of years. I think last season he got 8 goals and 20, so he's hit a bit of form albeit in the Latvian league. So we've got, a standard squad that is, on the outskirts, sort of shaped by a lot of young lads that may get the chance to make their debuts and their first goal for the Huuhkajat.
It's kind of continuing that process we've seen over the last few years of rejuvenating the squad, but bringing these players in a few at a time and not too much pressure, giving them a run there in the team. Keke.
Yeah, Santeri Hostika has come into the squad as well. Lassi Lappalainen and Robert Taylor were initially named, but for whatever reasons, both they're not injured because they've both been playing in MLS. But for whatever reason, they've decided to stay in the States. And so Hoyikors Hostika has been called up and he's made his way over there. So yeah, another new name to keep an eye out for in the squad.
And it's nice to see Nisila after his decent start with Suwon in Korea. I think we all had, I'd say doubts, but we all had questions when he signed for a K-League club. But he's, I think in their first 3 K-League matches, he's got a couple of assists. He scored a nice goal on Sunday morning. So, still in the conversation. I mean, he's clearly in great form. And the same for Ilmari Niskanen as well, which, as we talked about when he moved to Germany, the wrong move, right time perhaps, but he's gone to Dundee United a year later and really started tearing things up there. So it's nice that, these guys that promised a lot didn't necessarily make it at the time for whatever reason. Soisilo is a great example. He went to Middlesbrough quite young from Ilves, and then was it Waregem in Belgium, I think, as well, the club that Nisila was actually at. And now he's gone to Latvia and he's doing really well. And I think he deserves it. He was one of the big players in the under-21 side a couple of years ago. And it's nice to see that we're spreading the net a little bit as well. I mean, some of it's funny how some of these call-ups seem to work around transfers. And people were talking about Uli Tolva, that as soon as he signs for Hohiko, he gets a call-up for the national team. I mean, bear in mind, he's not played a Veikkausliiga minute. And conversely, the other way, Lucas Lingman has moved from Hoiko to Sweden and all of a sudden has been called up. But fair play. It's it's a strong a squad as you could really expect at this time of year.
So for Lassi Lappalainen, he's done his ankle. He's just tweaked his ankle and he's out. And I think for Oni Vallakari was also in the squad and he's missing out. He got the flu, but I think it's right for Taylor. I don't think Taylor's got any injury problems. I think he's actually I'm not sure if it was expectedly or not, but he's broken into the Miami team under Phil Neville. I'm not sure if he was hoping or thinking he'd get like a game
straight
time. But he's starting to get minutes, and I think because it's a friendly situation, because the MLS is going to basically continue during the break, it makes sense for him to sort of try and establish himself. Because if he can get a run of games, we've talked about it before, that lad needs a bit of luck, and he seems to have found it in Florida. So power to him.
And also, this warm weather training is a darn sight warmer in Miami than it is in Murcia at the moment, it seems.
And plenty warm bus.
Well, I think from what I hear, Miami are struggling, and Phil Neville's job, despite being owned by David Beckham, is not exactly secure. So if he can get in there and get some minutes, and I think it's probably. I mean, this has happened before with the MLS-based players. I mean, Raitalo and Lod have missed friendly squads for exactly that reason. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and Minnesota had the same problem when they started. I think I think it's an interesting thing about the MLS when you cobble together a side. They are literally playing together competitively for the first time. It takes them a while to find their feet. So more power to them.
What about? Well, okay. Let me ask that again. Talking about Mikael Soisalo. This is a name I've seen pop up regularly in Keke's Instagram feed. There's several players that I've learned about through your Instagram, Keke. So keep. I always praise it. I can't always keep up with the quantity of your posts, but there's always good stuff in there, and also it helps with like for the listener to sort of player recognition as well. Not only the names, but what they look like, who the players are. And I've seen his name pop up many times over the last year, so it wasn't such a surprise maybe to see him get called up for this training camp. But someone else who's been in there recently with a few goals and a few assists is our friend Joni Kaukko.
Yeah,
And
he's been doing all right. The Indian season's just finished, so I think he's back home in Finland putting his feet up for the minute. But yeah, he did all right there at MTK Mohon Bagan.
Yeah, that was good off the top of your head.
I just call him MTK.
Yeah.
But yeah, he done all right. He was chipping in with goals. He was getting assists, smashing them in from the spot. I mean, as we said, we spoke to Yoni and asked him about his move to India. And, we also, talked about it between ourselves. What would it do for his national team chances and all that? But yeah, he seems to have enjoyed his season there. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's next. Whether he'll stay or whether it was just the 1 year deal. But yeah, he's at home in Finland, walking his dogs at the minute and just chilling out, I think. So we'll wait and see what happens next. But yeah, fantastic guy, fantastic player. Still got a lot to give, I believe.
Yeah, let's hope we get to see him back in the national team squad, because when he was there before, he was a key part of it, wasn't it, during that big summer last year. While we're looking forward to this training camp, and everyone now will be subscribing to Finnish Football Show on Instagram to see what you're sharing from your travels, Keke. So let's be there with you.
I'll try and keep it clean. Yeah, I promise.
Let's just try and keep the camera straight. That'll be a good start. But there's 2 friendly games, so we haven't talked about those yet. We talked about the squad, but there's a friendly game against Iceland and then against Slovakia. So you've been doing a little bit of research, Keke, into the 2 opponents.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can call a match against Iceland a friendly these days after the experience we had in Reykjavik all those years ago, however long ago it was. But yeah, when Nicholas Moisander got the referee by the neck, and but yeah, we've got Iceland. They're obviously everyone knows about Iceland. Everyone in England was pretty fascinated with their rise to stardom and the way that their tiny little nation developed their football, and there's all sorts of books and films about it, and fair play to them. But their recent form hasn't been pulling up too many trees. I mean, in the last, what is it, 1, 2, 3? In the last 7, they've won 1. They tonked Liechtenstein 4-0, and but yeah, they've been on the back end of a 4-0 reverse themselves against the mighty Germany. They've had a 1-1 with Armenia, a 0-0 with Romania. They lost to North Macedonia 3-1, and yeah, recent friendlies 1-1 against Uganda and a 5-1 loss against South Korea. So obviously we'll wait and see what kind of a squad they put out. But I don't know if grudge match is quite the term, but yeah, I think the Finland supporters who are travelling over to Spain wouldn't mind seeing us put a few past Iceland. I think it will lay a few ghosts to rest for the ones who were there in Reykjavik.
Yeah, that team from a few years ago that was kind of very well organised and excited people, if not with their football, then with their passion and with their supporters and with their progress that they made. That seems to have fallen away now. Mark.
Yeah, they're in a massive regeneration. There's very few from that side that's still in the team. I think Bjarni Bjarnason is probably one of the few that's still there, and the guy's 33, 34.
Is Sigurdsson still not allowed to play?
I mean,
I'm assuming. I haven't seen him for Everton for a while.
Have we got a lawyer on the show?
No,
I can say his name.
Yeah, you can say his name and ask if he's allowed to play.
I don't think so. I think he's not. He hasn't played for Everton in a while. I don't think he's been called up this time or in a while for Iceland. But up front, I mean, they've got the lads they've got up front are sort of teenagers and 20 years old. They've got a lad called Andriy Gudjonsson who's part of Madrid's Castilla set up the youth team, but he's not exactly pulling up trees in the Spanish second tier. So He's not too. They're not too great. And I think additionally with the way they set up these days it's a sort of a narrow 4-3-3. They're trying to kind of actually build out a sort of tiki-taka, high press, high energy approach. But a lot of the players they've got are quite young, and I think I don't often get excited before games in terms of how we could do a team, but if they keep a sort of naive approach to developing this style of play, which tends to be the way Iceland approach games, we could turn these guys over a couple, 3 or 4. I think if we soak it up, if we play the ball around them, if we get into good positions wide, I think we could actually really hurt these guys.
And then the next game there against Slovakia, Keke, they seem to have a very similar kind of record recently.
Yeah, the pattern's pretty similar. I mean, out of the last 7, what have we got? They've won 1. There's a couple of draws and a couple of defeats. They narrow defeats. They've lost 1-0 to Russia and 1-0 to Croatia. They've had a one each with their cousins Slovenia, and yeah, they managed to beat Cyprus 2-0. You'd expect that, I suppose. And yeah, and then the most impressive result out of their recent run is a 2-2 with Croatia. So that's not really no muggy result there, is it really? And that was in Croatia. So so they've done all right there. But yeah, Slovakia, it's a bit of an unknown quantity for me, really. I'm not sure if we've played them in any recent sort of guys, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, they looked all right at the Euros. I mean, I know it's not exactly recent, but they were knocked out in the group stage. They beat Poland opening game. They got edged out by the Swedes, and then they got absolutely hammered by Spain when Dubravka scored that weird own goal, hit him in the face, and that's what knocked them out for the Euros. And in the warm up to the Euros, they also beat Russia, which is they're not exactly an easy shake. So I'm a little bit more concerned about the Slovakia team because it's still got a lot of quality, particularly at the back. So they've got like Skriniar, Satkar, Valiant. They play in like Serie A, La Liga. Dubravka's, even though he's not at the height of clubs. He's at the Saudi-owned Newcastle United. But going forward, they're not exactly great shakes. I think their sort of most creative player, Hamzik, he's 33, 34. Kuka is he's also 34, 35. So creatively, they're not particularly great, and they don't have a striker or a talisman to really pump the ball up to. So I think they'll be a lot harder to beat, particularly if there's any kind of heat or humidity in Spain. But I'm not particularly, like Keke says, I'm not particularly scared of them. I think we could do a number on them.
So these games are being played on the Iceland game is on the Saturday the 26th of March at 6 o'clock kickoff finish time, and then the Slovakia game is on the 29th. It's Tuesday at 7 o'clock finish time. And listener, you can work out from finish time where it might be, when it might be taking place in your time zone. Are the games viewable anywhere good?
They're on Viaplay. I think these are the last internationals before they all move to Yle.
So is it Viaplay or Via Free?
I think it's Viaplay.
Okay, we'll dig out a link and put it in the blog post anyway.
Viaplay is the online on the TV. It's Via Sport plus Suomi, and then also Elisa Viihde is carrying it as well.
Okay, all right. So it's there if you dig a little bit. I think that maybe we should just have a quick mention of the Helmarit, the women's national team. We covered their recent Le Tournoi de France performances back in the middle of February, and in the second week of April they're also playing Slovakia in the World Cup qualifying, and then they're playing against Georgia at home, also World Cup qualifying. And Keke, there's quite an offer available for people that might want to travel down to Helsinki to watch the Georgia game.
Yeah, that's right. The Helmarit and the Palloliitto have put a deal together. They're calling it the Joukkuelippu. So yeah, the team ticket. So for €120, you can get 16 kids and 4 adults into the Bolt Arena to watch the Helmarit take on Georgia. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but that sounds like a fantastic deal to me.
I did the maths for you, Keke. It works out a tenner per adult and a fiver for each child, which is
there you go.
Terrific value.
You can't go wrong, can you? I mean, you know, the girls will appreciate the support, and yeah, any junior teams. I mean, I guess that's who it's aimed at, the Joukkueet ticket. So any junior teams that are interested in that offer should be snapping it up. I think go down there and give the girls a cheer on and see how they get on. But yeah, I mean, we as you said, Mark, we spoke about Le Tournoi de France. Anyone who hasn't had a listen, go back and check out that episode, because the Helmarit really did grow through that tournament, and yeah, I think they'll go into the Georgia game with a bit of confidence.
Yeah, and I think also it's worth sort of giving a bit of kudos to Palloliitto there, because that's quite a good way. It's like a bulk offer, isn't it? It's not just a cheap ticket, but it's a cheap ticket and try and generate a crowd there, get people going in bus loads of 20 is innovative sort of way to look at it, I guess.
No, yeah, fair play to them.
Yeah,
they're all right, the folks over at Palloliitto.
I love them. I think they're fantastic, and I appreciate everything they do.
Speaking of which, appreciating everything the Palloliitto do, there's another signing that's another bloke's put pen to paper. We can't skip over that one.
Go on, shoot.
Yes, Mr. Rive.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, please.
The Revolution rumbles on.
So what are the terms of the deal then, Rich?
So his original contract was running to the end of this calendar year. There was some confusion last year, actually. I think people were under the impression it ran to the end of the World Cup campaign, but it was actually the end of 2022. He signed an extension now to the end of 2024. So that will include the next European Championships, obviously the Nations League coming up this summer as well. And yeah, I think for continuity and for what he's done, I think you can't really look too far away. Of course, there'll always be speculation around who's next and what's going to happen. And, you know, he's got a challenge on his hands that he's in the middle of refreshing this side. A lot of the significant players are retiring and moving on. So he's got a lot of work to do. But I think, you know, when we're talking, I think the draw for the qualifiers for the next Euros is within the next 6 months. So that all takes place in 2023. So really, you know, we're building up. This is what the Nations League is all about, getting ready for that qualifying campaign next year. The stakes are the same. You've still got 23 teams qualifying for the Germany competition. And yeah, you'd hope that if the Nations League goes to plan, gets that momentum going again, we're back in the same place as we were however many years ago now. So yeah, I think.
So when you say 23 teams, that's 23 teams plus Germany as the hosts.
Basically. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, so there'll basically be whether top 2 go through and however they jig around the last 3 places. But yeah, it's I mean, it's a massive opportunity to build on what he's done. I mean, he's already done more than any Finland coach has ever done. And yeah, if he can get this next generation starting to come through and lay the groundwork for what goes on after that, then yeah, I think it makes sense.
I think there's some parallels with the Finland ice hockey coach as well. Is it Juha Jalonen, or have I got the right name? Who's been there a long time and has sort of delivered a few victories for the Finnish ice hockey team by having that consistency and being able to bring in new players. And the one constant is that guy standing there, you know, very, very Finnish kind of straight face until he wins, and then he lets go. And that's what hopefully we'll get from Rive being there for a longer period of time.
Well, I do think, I mean, the Palloliitto in general since Ari Lahti came over, has tended to be a little bit more sort of strategic. They did set out, I think we covered it a while, that sort of identity project and the goal of being in the top 25 in the FIFA rankings. I think that was 2015, 2016, something, or it could have been a bit later. I'm an old guy now, but I think
time flies quicker nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I think I think they do try to think long term, and Rive gives you that chance. It also gives him the ability. I mean, you look at him bringing in, Uli Toilva, like a 17-year-old guy today. It's because he's looking at 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So I think it's only beneficial, because that kind of long-sightedness is going to help us out.
I mean, from both points of view, from my professional journalistic point of view, and from the view of as a fan. Hold on. Also, from the view as a fan, there is I don't think there's anyone you would rather have in charge. You know what I mean? He's proved he can do it. He's taken us on the most memorable journey we've ever been on as fans of Finland, and I don't think you can look past him to anyone else. The players, obviously, they love working for him. They love turning up to these international camps. It's got such a camaraderie, a buzz, a close-knit club feel about it, and that's all down to him, I think. So yeah, fair play, good job, Palloliitto, signing him up for another few years, and continue La Revolution.
Finland will need a new president in 3 or 4 years' time as well. So I'm starting the Rive for President campaign right now. You heard it here first, FFS listener. I think we've almost gone through the entire agenda without having a halftime slice of orange. So let's take a break now, and let's have a look at a little bit of Finnish Football Show merch.
Well,
and I thought I would choose the Suomi t-shirt, the 2022 Finland t-shirt, because we've been talking about the Huuhkajat and the Helmarit and whatever, and that's the beauty of the Suomi t-shirt.
It's on sale. Look
it is. Look at that. And we see, that's the beauty of this. We never know when it's going to be on sale.
Practically giving it away.
That's almost on sale right now.
It's 11 euros. It is, and we still get a slice of that. But it's only free for 11 hours. So by the time you're watching this, because this won't be published in the next 11 hours, but
it'll be back up to 18.
It will. But the point is that happens quite often. So just keep checking the site. If you want to save, saving yourself sort of 7 or 8 euros there. So if you want to wait, just check it out, and the prices often come down. And the nice thing. So what I did with the design here was to get the name of the country, obviously, and then run the Finnish Football Show logo through there with a nice little 2022, because this will run this year, and then next year we'll have to find something else. I've already got an idea for next year's shirts. Don't you worry, I'm a step ahead. But also what I think is the neat thing here is that you can choose lots of different products, as you can see there, the hoodies and phone cases and bags and what have you, but also you can choose different styles of t-shirt even, and also in women's fits as well. Not that it shows a great deal here, but it's got a little bit of something for. There you go. There's a ladies shaped t-shirt just to prove that I wasn't making it up. So every t-shirt that we sell, a little bit of that comes to us at the Finnish Football Show, help us with the running costs, and as well as that, Rich, we've got the Buy Me a Coffee account.
Yes, Buy Me a Coffee, which we have a couple of very generous people. Gave Johan a shout out last time for contribution after I obviously praised Mariham at some point in the previous episode. And I think they're a fantastic club and they deserve to do great things. So I hope they win the league again.
That's true. Thank you.
If the club are listening, they could send me a shirt, because I think it's one of the few Finnish clubs I haven't got a shirt of. Is Mariham. So.
Hey, how about this? If someone from Mariham is listening and you send Rich a shirt, then we'll send you one of our shirts.
Yeah, that's the deal.
I mean, not like the ones we're wearing, one of our T-shirts.
Yeah, but do it in the next 11 hours.
I don't want to be argumentative, but if I can get an All-in United shirt, that would also be pretty cool.
True that.
Local derby.
Yeah. Mark, you have an onion for us this week.
Oh yeah, yes. So it's been a while. We haven't done an onion in a long time, but
I think it's been a while since maybe all four of us have been together with one thing and another. So go away, go away, go ahead.
Go away. Thanks, guys.
No, don't go away. Come back.
Oh, yeah. No. So I think the Nivel Pelaaja is the guy who sits between your midfield and your forward line. So it's the guy in English. It's the guy in the hole. Nivel Pelaaja is joint player or pivot player, and he's generally your guy that sits in that sort of playmaker Litti role.
Your number 10, your trequartista, is it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to get technical, but the trequartista tends to do a little bit more running.
Oh well, no running.
Exactly.
Very good, and I'm going to get you to write that down for me, Mark, so that I can spell it correctly and put it in the blog post in the show notes as well. So. All right, the second half's about to start, and it might be a short second half. It certainly will be when it comes to topics, because we're going to just look at the Suomen Cup and where things currently stand in the men's Suomen Cup. Anyway, in the last show, we gave a little shout out to Seinio and Sisu, who, if you remember, had a second round game against RBSR from Vasa, and unfortunately, that game was scheduled for the day that I went over to the UK, so I missed that. And Sisu were playing against RBSR, a division above them, and the game finished 1-1, but Sisu lost on penalties. You can see a theme for seniority teams and penalties this season. So bad luck to Paul and his team there. Were there any other kind of standout results that you noticed in the second round, and then we've also got some more recent third round games?
So the clubs we're seeing, I mean, we're still seeing those amateur clubs who are getting through your Nellen and Kuutanen sides. FC Åland, who we jested about earlier, they're in Kolmonen, but they are managed by former Finland international Daniel Joland. He's the coach there now. They beat Tuve of, I don't know where they're from, but they're in Nellinen, and they beat them 5-1, so they're in the third round now.
Turun Wake.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, most of the second round games haven't actually happened at the time of recording.
Is that right? Sorry.
Yeah, we're actually that far ahead. They've done the third round draw today, as we're recording. But most of the second round ties are still to be played. We did talk in our WhatsApp group around Asiko's Apollo side, and we need to do some digging into the links where they sit with Asiko, because we've talked about them a couple of years ago at least, wasn't it? And Mark there with your pink scarf.
I've got my pink Apollo scarf on. Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of a story behind the team, and Keke said to me earlier that he remembers one of the Explore Finland podcasts that I did several years ago when the Apollo team was just starting, and it's a place for some of the former Asiko and I guess Terpe and Sepsi players to still have a place to play some competitive football that's not quite at the top level. So there are former players from Asiko there, Luis Fernandez, who was the goalkeeper and is now the goalkeeper coach, has played there. Mikael Murimäki, who is one of Asiko's sort of acclaimed goal scorers from the early days, is still playing there. I was surprised to see them listed on the Palloliitto website as Asiko Apollo, because I always thought the links were a bit looser than that. So yeah, but I only discovered this just before the show started, so I didn't have a chance to ask the question, but I'll dig into that one. But the biggest link now is that in this Suomen Cup competition, Tero Mäntylä played, and also Mika Ojala played. They were both playing Veikkausliiga last season for Asiko and for Turku, Inter Turku, respectively. So that looked like a strong team, and they had a really good win last weekend against Saari Potku, or kick in the shins, as I understand the translation to be. So we still have some of these great named lower league clubs, but Apollo play in the Kuutinen in the 6th division, and they've been drawn against Ukkonen side KPV from nearby Kokkola in the next round. So that's going to be a local derby and a hell of a step up from 6th to the 1st. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. You've got a lot of the guys who play for these sides. I mean, you've got teams down in that division, and as we mentioned previously, a friend of the show, Tara, her husband plays for the Tepsi over 35 side, and if they get through their next round, which I think is against Asi Wolves, then they'll be playing. It's Ilves actually in round 3. So it's I mean, this is the thing. You've got. This is, I don't want to say the magic of the Suomen Cup, because we're starting to damn it with faint praise there, but ultimately, this is why the cup competition was brought back in this guise. You've got amateurs, you've got players who've essentially retired, you've got people like us, people who have an interest in Finnish football, who form their own sides, who play for amateur teams, and they're now potentially 90 minutes away from hosting Veikkausliiga sides with international players and all that. And especially when the rules dictate at this stage of the competition that the highest division team plays away, so they'll have to make the trip and play in a municipal astroturf somewhere. Get changed in a porter cabin.
Or it seems that if KPV are playing away to Apollo, they'll be playing at the Oma Aspe Stadium in Seinäjoki.
Possibly.
A bit of a step up, maybe.
But yeah, so we've got the 6 Veikkausliiga sides and the 12 Ukkonen sides dropped into round 3. So now you're getting the fully professional teams involved, and yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's a good thing for the competition that so many teams really bought into the revamp. The cup's got a new logo. It's really been taken seriously this year. They're putting a lot of effort into it. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's more fun for the amateurs at this point, but still, I'm glad it's back in this form.
I don't think. Oh, sorry, Mark. Go on.
I was just going to say, well, the logo change is welcome, but it reminds me a hell of a lot of the FA Cup designs and the rest of it. I think they've taken a liberal amount of inspiration. And for me, at least this round, I'm actually looking at Yllätys, or Yllämyllyn Yllätys, which is it's a club from Askola or Lipperi, which is a little bit north of Porvoo. In this round, they're playing BET Jyväskylä, or Blue Eyes team Jyväskylä. So I mean, they smashed Pet 7-2 in the last round. So I reckon it should be a tasty game. That's the one that I've got my I'm going to take a Grand National approach to this one. I'm going to lump on Yllätys for a massive cup run.
And is that and you're talking there in the 3rd round, Mark? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. It's good to have some teams to keep an eye out for. There's still, at the moment, the draw is still so big that it's quite overwhelming trying to sort of work out.
There's
where they all
54 ties in the 3rd round.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
And then I think it's at the next point when the remaining 6 Veikkausliiga teams come in.
Yeah, but you said about damning with faint praise. I don't think you are. I think it's great. Like you said, these clubs are in there. You are getting some of these quirky stories, and it happens in the English FA Cup as well with the smaller sides. You always get one or two that get through to the later rounds and the romance of it and the glory and that's what it should be. It was a crying shame that the Suomen Cup was sort of split up and put in this league system and played indoors and all that nonsense. This is what it should be. Start it now, play it through the season and build up to the end of the year where Cups play Huuhkajat in the final. Probably. Have we missed anything? Luckily, you stopped me overlooking the Rive contract thing. Is there anything else that we particularly need to cover today, or are we just about there?
I don't really want to show my complete lack of preparation by talking too much about the cancelling and Liga starting this weekend.
But it is.
Yes. But yeah, ultimately, that's back. It's a bit strange because last year, Tips on Tikkurila, they came second and then promptly folded because playing in the Cancelling League wasn't financially viable for them. We've seen it with ROPS in the men's Ukkonen, and I think I'm thankful that it hasn't appeared to have happened really to many other clubs where the prospect of the junior sides funding loss-making senior football is too large. So that starts at the weekend. It's really, it's a really good standard, and the couple of years since it's been going in its current kind of it's been revamped and rebranded, but the standard's good. There's some of the Helmarit players, it's a really good breeding ground for them, and so I'd be looking forward to Cups retaining their crown.
What about we talked about the Helmarit having these two World Cup qualifier games in mid-April, so we'll come back and do something around those, and maybe we can do an episode where we talk about those games and also look at the Cancelling Liga, the start of that and how that started, and then obviously we'll have the start of the Veikkaus Liga, because that also kicks off very soon. Saturday the 2nd, we have all 12 Veikkaus Liga teams playing on Saturday the 2nd, and then I think from my personal perspective on Friday the 8th is Asiko's second game, and we start with 2 home games against Helsinki, which is nice, a nice way to get the season started with big crowds coming. Mark?
Yeah, it's not really I think it's something that I saw, but I'm just going to check. I'm not sure how good this is going to be for the end of the show, but is Sergei Yeremenko back?
Yes, he's at Helsinki in IFK.
Hoivko. He went to
Yeah.
So that's our first game of the season. That's the Helsinki team we've got on Saturday the 2nd, and then Huuhkajat on Friday the 8th. So there could be something worth seeing there.
Yeah. Okay.
And also just a little shout out that I'll be joined at that Huuhkajat game by Finnish Football Show listener Keith. So Keith has met Keke and Rich in the past. I've had a good chat with him recently, and looking forward to welcoming him to Oma Aspe Stadion. I believe he's got a ticket in with the Cloppit. So brace yourself.
Bring your credit card for a €9 Carlsberg.
Yeah, well, let's see. I shall be reporting back on the price of a small can of Carlsberg. You can be sure of that.
I'll give him a nudge on Saturday when I see him.
Yeah, do that. But I think that just about wraps up this episode. So thanks for my co-hosts today. Mark, goodbye.
Head up.
Rich, goodbye.
Hey.
And Keke, goodbye.
Hola.
Adios, surely.
Hello.
Exactly.
Adios.
We're not recording that again.
Just
we're going to
speak louder and point.
That's it.
And listener, thank you.
Ein beer, Kitos.
Listener, thank you for listening, and until the next episode of the Finnish Football Show, goodbye. You have been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and on Instagram. See the links in the episode description below. You can also connect with the 4 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Keke. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.